Good evening, everybody. I'm Arvind, and I'm again here, just like the last couple of days, to discuss another aspect to learning English, which is equally as important as the last couple that we have discussed at length. But just to recap all of that a bit, yesterday, what did we learn? We learned three crucial things which are integral in our journey of learning how to speak in English, of this urge that we have to become a fluent speaker. Sounds a little solipsistic, but this is the truth. So, what did we learn yesterday? We learned that in any walk of life, when we walk neck by jowl with a variety of people, we are using some words frequently which are not creating quite the magic that we are seeking. We haven't quite achieved what we have sought because our tools are inappropriate, are inapt. Therefore, we haven't gotten or we haven't achieved or obtained our desired results. So what we learned yesterday is those words that we have been using regularly, words without effect, maybe words with meaning but without effect, should be eradicated. And the process can take a bit of time. But can you think of one great thing that was achieved without time? Most people believe every great thing or every great accomplishment that's cut out for you, considering it's great, considering it's coveted, the journey is going to take time. So with time, when you become conscious that these are the words which I need to refrain from, with time, these words will become eradicated. They'll be relinquished. Once you've identified these words and you've started working upon minimizing their usage, you will confront a void. Now what to do? Now you find words with meaning and effect. And then you fill that void. And then your sentences become engaging. And then that glamour element which was missing originally is there now. It's there in volubles. So I hope you are able to recall all of that we did yesterday, because today we are going to diversify a bit. We are going to dive into a more academic side of English, not grammar, something else. Today we are going to talk about essays. I assume, or I'll give you the compliment, that all of you are handsomely aware of essays. I'm sure at some point in time of your life, be it in school, be it in college, or in between that when you're trying to land a college, you do go through that process wherein you have to write an essay. And essays today are all the more important. They've certainly rose in their importance. And why am I saying that? You have heard of SOPs? An SOP is basically a memoir which you write for yourself, and which, in other words, is a personal essay or an essay. Personal essay is something, again, that we will discuss in these classes, but that's reserved for the next week, I believe. Today we are talking about a general essay. An SOP is what? It's an essay. When you are supposed to write for your own rights, then you write an essay for it. If there is a particular topic that you're studying and you have to extrapolate it at length, then that extrapolation, that written exploration, deep written exploration, is what makes an essay. Whenever you write something, as a criterion to land somewhere or to obtain something academic is basically an essay. When you appear for IELTS, there is a separate module called the writing module, under which you have to write two essays, one a shorter essay, another one is a longer essay. One comprises of 150 words, other comprises of 250 words. Minimum, I'm talking about. When you want to go abroad and study in those fancy colleges, exotic locales, you got to go through the grinding process of IELTS, and IELTS constitutes of the module writing, and that constitutes of two essays. And there are many other examples available at your disposal where you can understand, which with the help of those examples you can understand the value of essays and why they have become all the more important today. You appear for a civil service exam, I'm sure at some stage there will be a session wherein you would be required to showcase your writing prowess. And how does that get tested? It gets tested via an essay. Therefore, as essays rise in prominence, the need for competence in writing also does the same. And there is a symbiotic relationship between the requirement of competent essay writers and, of course, it's rising in prominence in multifolds, because that has become a criterion to judge a person's overall aptitude. Now that's why we are here today. We'll try and learn our ropes as to how to write an essay. What are the steps that we need to ensure or we need to follow in order to craft a nice, an attractive essay, let's say, an intriguing essay. I have done a big mistake here. I've used the word attractive. But in yesterday's lecture, we talked at length that there are certain words which need treatment. They have to be eradicated off our system, completely obliterated. But here I am again. I have used the word attractive, and attractive made to the list yesterday of those words which perhaps are not critically needed in your communication. But just the way I corrected myself, I chastised myself and I shifted to the word intriguing. That is something that you can do. Every time you end up using a commonplace word and you have that tongue-in-cheek moment, then you tell yourself that I've used the word wrongly, or perhaps this is not the word that I'm supposed to use, and then you think of an alternative and you rephrase the sentence. And the second time when you make the sentence, it will be a correct sentence. You'll make this mistake for a month or so, maybe 2 months, 3 months, wherein you'll keep on correcting yourself. But then there would come a point in time wherein naturally you'll start using the more effective words, and then you would be proud of yourself, if anything. But today here we are talking about essays and how to write them. We've just talked about its importance, and the importance, perhaps 45-50 minutes are not enough. It will never suffice. The importance of essay is far-reaching and it's vast. I don't think so we would be able to encapsulate that in just one lecture. So the importance is never ending. Let's try and understand, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's try and understand its surface level anatomy. As I've just said, it's never ending. And if you want to learn a bit more about it, then you need to read myriad of books and meet a plethora of people with variety of opinions on how to approach an essay. So it's a vast subject. Here we'll try to make it a more surface level, make it more convenient, make it perhaps a bit easier to learn than the conventional traditional route. There we go. Here's a step-by-step guide on how to write an essay. Understand the assignment. Read and understand the essay prompt, format, and requirements. Now, whichever exam you're appearing for, your essay, the format of your essay has to be in accordance with that. There needs to be a synchronization. And if there's any lacking on this particular front, wherein the essay is not quite in accordance, is not honoring the format of that particular exam, then you are perhaps in troubled waters. Now, troubled waters is one phrase which you could use when you are in a difficult situation. Now, not digressing so much, coming back to the topic. So, you should be aware, or you must have comprehensive knowledge as to what kind of exam you are giving, or what kind of an essay you need to write to honor that particular exam. For example, when you write for your boards, 12th board, 10th board, when you write in a traditional examination setup, then there are certain rules that you must follow. If you're writing an essay in the classroom, then expressions which could be provocative or invocative, those expressions should be omitted, or they should never find a place in your essay. That's what our school essays are supposed to be. They're supposed to be concise, proper, graceful, well-mannered, and within the moral compass of the schooling system. And I believe the same goes for college, because if you go overboard, or if you write some words, expressions which do not mirror the ethical values, ethos and principles of the organization, then the essay could be obscured or discarded, or could be, I would say, rejected even. And if you're writing an essay for a government exam, then what could be the format? When you're writing for a government exam, sorry for the inconvenience. When you're writing for a government exam, it is mostly about a social issue. An essay, while you're appearing to land a job in the civil services, the essay to test your aptitude are mostly pertinent to the social stigmas, or the chiaroscuro of life, and you have to take a political stand. So you have to bear in mind the format that you need to follow while you are writing an essay. It is very important. You cannot be writing the essay and the gestures and the format of the essay that you've learned in your school while you are appearing for a civil service exam. IELTS has a very different format, and there is a book categorically designed to inculcate that IELTS temper in the mind of the candidate, so that he or she knows what's the format, and they are able to honor that format. So the first thing before writing an essay is to you understand the essay well, you do your homework well, you go around, research a bit at your own end, and collect material which could guide you or which could provide for a blueprint as to what kind of a format is uh, a precedent in the particular exam that you are appearing for. And if you are fortunate enough to be studying at such highly esteemed institutions like Anushka Academy, then the teachers here are going to guide you with utmost conviction and incredible competence. So you won't be like fish out of water. Now, once you have assessed and once you have understood what kind of format is required for the kind of exams you are appearing for, we go for the step number 2. Choose a topic, select a topic that interests you and fits the assignment. Conduct research if needed. Now, if you are appearing for an exam in 10th board or a job or trying to land a job via services or whatever, in that scenario, you would be given a topic. But when you write an essay on your own, then choosing the topic for the essay becomes extremely important. When you are trying to shortlist the topics that you'll be writing your essay upon, make it a point that it's a topic about which you happen to carry some expertise on. And it will be better if you have a high degree of competence or at least some valuable knowledge about the topic you are choosing. Now, it is self-explanatory as to why did I say that. I mean, it's no rocket science, as we learned in the first class. If you can recall it, in the first class we were discussing some phrases or idioms which we can use in our daily lives to cut corners and make our sentences more glamorous. We did this phrase, no rocket science. So, it is no rocket science that you choose a topic in which you have some expertise in, or via your education you have been able to possess or garner some knowledge or a good degree of knowledge in regards to that particular topic. For example, if you are a computer science engineer, then it's no rocket science that one topic that you must zero down should be related with computer science or could be AI for that matter. If you are a doctor, then your essay must be, or if you're studying medicals, your essay should be something related to medicals. If you are a student, then you write about current affairs or something that you're shrouded in. If you are a fashion designer, you write about fashion. So I don't think so. One has to dive too deep into it. It's pretty, it's common sense, in other words. Whatever you happen to know to a great degree, you choose that topic. If you are a fashion fanatic, if you have a feel for politics, then you write your essay on politics. Is that clear? Whichever topic that you feel you are capable of holding your own in arguments, in academic debates, then you choose that topic as your essay. Develop a thesis statement, a clear and concise statement that summarizes your main argument or point. Now, thesis statement, it is basically the nucleus of your essay. For example, if I am a cricket fanatic, almost an aficionado, I follow cricket like anything. No matter what the condition is, a cricket match would mollify me out of it. So, I will choose the topic cricket. And it's safe to assume, or perhaps I would know better for sure, that Tendulkar happens to be my favorite cricketer. And in my opinion, whatever I have watched, in my personal opinion, I think he is perhaps the best cricketer to have graced the face of this planet. Now, if I know a little bit about cricket, then my topic will be cricket. Now, I need a thesis statement, a statement that encapsulates the essence of the entire essay, the aroma of the entire essay. Maybe I could go for Tendulkar, born a human, became a god. That could be my thesis statement. Born a human, became a god. Now, this particular phrase or statement that I've come up with will encapsulate the entire essay as to what I'm going to write about and what the entire essay is telling. You can call it thesis statement, main statement, your highlight, your title, whatever. Let's say I've chosen a topic, Tendulkar, born a human being, became a god, or perhaps became a legend, whatever, became a god. Because god is something that is commonly thrown in the fray when Tendulkar is being discussed. So that is that has a relationship with Sachin, a relationship that is inextricably intertwined, Sachin and God. So we can use that word. And if you happen to be a fan of football or wrestling or AI or computers or mobile phone or fashion or movies, then you write an essay on a particular film, a particular player, particular design that piques your interest, and you have to think of one line, if you're writing about a design, one line that mirrors the theme of the entire essay in just one line. So that is your step number 3. Now comes the step number 4. Organize your ideas and structure your essay with an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Organize your ideas and structure your essay with an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion. Now, how do you differentiate between an introduction and body paragraphs? That means cohesion. How, while you're writing, you'll be able to draw that distinction wherein I would know as a reader that this particular paragraph was an introduction. After that came perhaps an overview or a body paragraph, and then came the conclusion. And in most cases, you are not allowed to give a heading introduction and then give another heading main body paragraphs. That is considered a schoolboy mistake. That's what school children do. If you are appearing for a more critical exam, which will perhaps decide your future, then you couldn't be going the schoolboy's way. You have to showcase rather that maturity while you're writing, upon which you'll be judged, upon which your future will be decided. So in the introduction, it's just 3-4 lines. If my topic is Tendulkar, in this essay, now what am I going to write in this essay and what am I going to achieve? What I intend to achieve, what I intend to explore via this essay, that has to find a place in the introduction itself. Now, as I have put Tendulkar tantamount to God, and as I've mentioned that he, for me at least, and for a lot of people that I happen to know, entire caboodle of people that I happen to know, that Sachin is perhaps the greatest cricketer to have graced the face of this planet, and some go on to believe that perhaps he couldn't quite delivered to the hilt. He had even more talent than what we witnessed. So now that is a big statement. So what do we see here? An introduction. Now there could be a set of, or there can be a set of standard lines that you can have at your disposal every time you are approaching an essay. And now the advantage will be double fold. A, if you have lines memorized, that these are the lines you will resort to whenever you are going to write an introduction, the advantages are double fold. One, it saves you time, it saves you effort. Second, it also gives a signature. And people just by reading the introduction would know that this is written by you. It gives you that distinction that this is the language of this person, this is how he writes. So as I've said, when you memorize these 3-4 lines, for example, first line could be, in this essay, we are going to explore and extrapolate the sheer greatness of Sachin Tendulkar. That's how you can start the essay. Now that's one line that I would resort to when I want to write an essay. You could have your own. And if you don't have, you start Googling it. And do not Google. Don't take shortcuts. Don't try and cut corners. Because if you try and cut corners, the effect will only be skin deep. Why can't you read books? When you start reading extensively, you will develop that organic relationship with the language, wherein you will automatically, on your own, naturally, come up with lines. So via reading, come up with your own line, that this is your line, that's how you will start an essay. And I'm going to go with, in this particular essay, we'll explore and extrapolate the sheer greatness of Sachin. Once I've made that line, my next line would be, what do I think of him? In my opinion, he is perhaps the greatest cricketer of the world. And I would go on to put him tantamount to God. Now that is my introduction. In my body paragraphs, I need to present evidence, facts, as to how he is the greatest in my opinion, and one of the greatest unarguably there. So, and then a conclusion. The conclusion cannot be a conclusion in a vacuum here. It cannot be the general conclusion that I seem to carry. The conclusion should feel as if it has been spawned as a result of above research done on the first 3 paragraphs. There should be a relationship in between the conclusion and the body paragraphs. You cannot write a conclusion in a vacuum. Even if I feel he is godlike, I have to honor and to remain consistent with my body paragraphs, need to write the conclusion which synchronizes with body paragraph. Now in the body paragraphs, when I dive deeper, there will come a bit of, there will come negative points, downsides, the chinks in his armory. Maybe at times his batting display reflected a certain reserved behavior which wasn't ideal for the situation that his team was in. So there will definitely come negative points. And my conclusion has to applaud those negative points as well, even at the expense of suppressing my natural instinct to be floored by the enigma of Sachin. So that's how you structure your essay. Write the introduction, grab the reader's attention, background information, thesis statement. As I've already stated, we have covered these pointers. When you're writing the introduction, we already discussed this yesterday. The primary purpose of communication, both oral and written, is to engage or grab the attention of the listener or the reader. There is no other purpose of communication. Bear it in mind, even if it comes off a little bit condescending, or it reflects a sense of glib, or pride or vanity, whatever. The primary purpose of your communication is to grab the attention of your listener, to hog the limelight. And the same finds a place here. Your introduction itself should be captivating enough, enticing enough to completely encapsulate or enthrall your listeners and have them by the scruff of their neck, bottled. How do you do that? You use words which they don't use. You use gestures which they don't hear. You display scenarios via your writings which they have not cited. When you do some of the triptych that I just mentioned, and many other things that you'll find on your own when you start reading yourself, and you develop your own package, your own tantalizing package, then you have the attention of your reader or listener. And you win your battle. I'll repeat my stance again, and I'm going to be consistent with it till the very end of this vigil, is the primary purpose of communication is not to convey your feelings, ideas, expressions, that is passé and played. It is to attract your listeners and readers alike, in whichever discipline, be it writing or speaking. Remember that. So that's how you write your introduction. The body paragraphs. Pretty much the heart of your essay. Now you get to the body paragraphs, and whatever you think, whatever, as I've said that Sachin is godlike for me, now I have to, or at least my body paragraphs, whatever thesis statement that I've made, my body paragraphs need to mirror the ethos of that thesis statement or the elements of that thesis statement. If my body paragraphs fail to do so, then my introduction seems motivated. It seems to have gotten, or to have been purposely crafted in a vacuum, and not as a result of the exploration of the essay. So make sure that your body paragraphs are synchronizing with your introduction. So if I were to take Sachin as my topic of the essay, then I'm going to stuff the body paragraphs with his stats, the runs that he scored, the bowlers that he played against, the pitches that he played on. So I'll take all those factors into account and try and validate my claim that Sachin is indeed the godlike. But here the catch, which is not mentioned here, but I'd like to serve you as a mere footnote, is you can't go all gaga. So you have to curb your exuberance. You can't be that gregarious. You have to also think or care for the other side. Now there will definitely be a section, there will definitely be a group or a lobby which may not, or a clique rather I would say, which may not find, or which may not be cahoots with what I intend to say or what I intend to write via my essay. So I have to take into account their views as well and give credence to those views, because time and again those views or those perceptions have been projected, and considering the frequency of those perceptions, projections of those perceptions, we need to take them into account. Now when we take the negatives, because they are basically negatives, when we take the negatives into account, that, what it does, that punctures to some degree your thesis statement. But what that does is, it makes your essay look natural, because we are trying to explore and extrapolate, and this is what I think. But when you take the negatives into account, the scales which were tipped so high in your favor in the beginning, they will go a bit tipsy-topsy, and essay will look all the more natural, coherent and rational it has to be rational. You can't be biased in your writing whenever you're writing an essay, and that makes a great essayist, when he has the ability to be rational even at such sensitive junctures where he clearly has his loyalties with a particular topic, but he still has the decency to take into account the opposite argument, or the argument that doesn't mirror his loyalties or interests or whatever. Then you come at the conclusion. You summarize main points, restate thesis statements, final thought, call to action. So summarize the main points. If I'm talking about Sachin, then the era that he played in favored bowlers, and to make the matters worse, the pace bowling battery that each team had at their disposal were all lethal. They were all daunting and fearsome bowlers. There was never a time before or after which witnessed such danger and venom in bowling. So Sachin was caught up in the perfect storm. Still, he defied all the odds and went on to score a ton of runs against such enormously dangerous bowlers. And another point would be, which is the negative point, but is a main point nonetheless, is his detractors believe that there were times in his career where he basically went into a shell and reserved his attacking instincts for, perhaps this is one perception that, or one I would say theory that they have devised, is for his own benefits he would go into a shell and not play the kind of game he was naturally gifted to play. So that's one point you have to take into account. And now the essay becomes a medley of positives and negatives. But then you try and restate your thesis statement somehow. You somehow again bring to the fore the greatness of Sachin. So once I have displayed or written about the detractors, the critics who feel that Sachin may not be as great, I'll have to again come back to my thesis statement and still find some respite and again upload my thesis statement. I'll use the words like nonetheless. Nonetheless, no criticism is big enough to tar or effective enough to tar or mar or tarnish the greatness of Tendulkar. That's how I concluded. So, in my conclusion wasn't all gaga, as my introduction reflected. My introduction was clearly from the place, or clearly from a fan who is an aficionado of this personality and he's head over heels in love with him, in love with his game, in love with such holy or such morbid quality of his batting, that I went all gaga in my introduction. But when I started exploring the essay in the main body paragraphs, I came to acquire the knowledge that, or I learned that there is a section in the cricketing lexicon which thinks otherwise. And because they have been thinking otherwise for so long, and they have projected their opinions frequently, time and again for so long, we have to take them into account. And then, medley of both, make your conclusion. After you once again restated your thesis statement. So that's how you write an essay. Revise and edit. It's all the more important that you read your essay from the very trend of the hair to the very nail of the foot. Complete assessment of the essay is required by the writer himself, and if there's a scope for editing, then you edit it. Ensure transitions and coherence, get feedback from others. You can always ask your relatives, your best friend, your spouse to have a read and give you an honest opinion, because it has to be honest. It has to be honest, so that you would know where do you stand and where can you go. Now, why don't you do one thing? Find a topic that piques your interest, that you have a certain propensity for, write an introduction, think of a thesis statement, and explore it a bit, research about it a bit, and then you come back to the essay and write main body paragraphs. And then you try to reach a conclusion. Could you do that? But you need to use the idioms that we have used. You need to use words which are effective, which are otherworldly, and craft a beautiful essay which people would love to read. And not just once, but time and again. That's the beauty of great writing. It enthralls people and prompts and propels them to read it again and again. Now, this is, of course, a challenging, it's an uphill task, but I believe you do have the chops, the expertise, and the game required to do the same. And I wish you best of luck. Now, right behind me are the scanners, which will lead you directly towards our social media platforms, be it Instagram, Snapchat, Telegram, whichever social media that you frequently use. You can scan these and get acquainted with our catalog of courses available, and I believe all of them are top tier courses with the best of faculties available in Rajasthan, and whichever piques your interest the best, you try and inquire for the same. Happy Republic Day in advance, and I hope you'll have a great day ahead. Thank you.